Right, so what kinds of magic in my setting should you definitely not be fucking with? Well, in just a previous video down there, I talked about how the world is kind of divided up into different territories, and basically if you can control the amount of nonsense going on in your territory, you get to be king of your little hill. However, there are absolutely forbidden forms of magic that if you even think about fucking with, you're gonna die. And the Witch Hunters are the organization whose job it is to make sure that that's the case. So, being a mage is one of the few professions, other than being a nation with, uranium deposits or something like that, where you can basically become as dangerous as someone that has nukes. Now, everyone on Earth has an interest in there still being an Earth at the end of the day, so people tend to keep an eye on each other, and even in, the black magic parts of society, if you're doing secret magic research, that's considered a red flag. Okay, but what forms of magic are gonna get the witch hunters to not even bother knocking on the door, just blow up your house? The big one is the hunt. The hunt is prey species hell. So all forms of magic come from thought, come from bias, come from ideas, come from feelings, emotions, etc., etc., etc. Back when magic was first invented, these ideas, these clumps of ideas and biases gradually became semi-sentient. Now, billions of years later, there are civilizations of spirits that have become significantly more sophisticated and so on and so on and so on. The hunt, not so much. The hunt is the manifestation of the fear that prey species hold for predators. While if you were stupid enough to summon something from the hunt, it might look like a wolf, a rabbit doesn't understand that a wolf is actually a relatively social animal that can be tamed. In fact, it's not afraid of the part of the wolf that it can be tamed, it's just afraid of tooth and claw. The trouble is, there are two things about the hunt that make it incredibly problematic. One is that it is the single largest font of magical energy. At least I think so, and so in my setting it is the case. The largest amount of thought, singular idea or bias, is the fear that prey species have for being fucking eaten. And so the single largest actual chunk of magic in the universe is the hunt. In fact, it's a pretty big slice of the entire pie. It is also almost entirely unexpressed. There aren't people tapping into the hunt all the time, actually using any of that magic. So every time someone actually tries to funnel any of that magic from the hunt, a whole lot more of it comes through than you wanted it to. Because it is fundamentally tooth and claw and the desire to kill things. It immediately animates anything that it touches into a horrible monster. If you were to funnel hunt-based energy into a spell, the spell would instantly get overwhelmed, you would get overwhelmed, your house would get overwhelmed, probably the very land that you're standing on would get overwhelmed and turned into a giant horrible monster that is going to kill any living thing it can find, which is going to probably be the entire planet. The thing is, you might think you're strong enough to take on, a big nasty beastie from the hunt. You're not. There's more magic there than there is literally magic anywhere. Big enough outbreaks of the hunt are problems that like fundamental gods, like gods of, ideas and emotions themselves, have to deal with. Fortunately, the hunt itself doesn't try and invade anywhere. It's not smart enough to. Unlike spirits of of oppression or conquest or anything like that, they're not going looking for a fight. It's just the hunt. As long as you don't fuck with it and do not fuck with it, it's not going to fuck with you. Except the one way that the hunt actually does manifest itself in this plane is through dire things, dire wolves, etc., etc. The actual predators like wolves that fit the particularly horrifying standards of the prey species around that will become kind of embedded with the hunt-based magic, but it won't be a constant channeling from the hunt. It'll just be from the surrounding area, so it's not going to be nearly as much energy, but it's still going to be a horrible, mutated, killing machine version of that thing. When I say you don't want to fuck with this shit, there is only one person who has ever survived the hunt, who has ever conquered the hunt, has ever reached the core of the hunt, and that is the person that I'm writing the book about, which in the Kickstarter will be up soon, don't worry. What soon means in this context. Also a rabbit. He is also a rabbit. Because who else would be able to conquer the hunt than the one that made it?